but this is one that was on the front page of Reddit recently. We're going to be talking about the prize pools, and we can all thank Mr. Doc Disrespect for his comments. I didn't even listen to what he said, but somebody told me the sentiment. It basically was that obviously this Fortnite event happened, $30 million, all this kind of stuff, but that Counter-Strike should have events of this grandeur. Before we get too far, because this is a multi-layered topic, Fortnite is probably the biggest game in the world. It's probably generated more money than what the majority of other titles ever have. I don't know. I'm spouting out of my ass. I have no idea. But that game just seems like it's that big of a phenomenon. It's not an esport. It's actually, fuck it, let's try that again. It's not a competitive esport. It might be an esport. It might be a video game that people play professionally. But it's not a competitive pursuit of a video game with consistency of results. Now, Fortnite players would probably argue with me. And they'd say, no, but I can win all these games. You know, da, da, da. The game doesn't even have modes that you could even say are close to the semblance of anything that a Counter-Strike game, a Dota game, a League of Legends game, a StarCraft game, anything that people consider to be the upper echelon of titles. And the reason that these games last the test of time is because it's basically grown from the ground up. League of Legends is a clone of Dota. Dota was a mod on fucking, Warcraft 3. So this was built by the community. StarCraft was shaped heavily by Asia, like by Korea and the way that they wanted to play the game in the early days. That was kind of just done by Korea. Korea are the ones who put on the whole fanfare for StarCraft, right? They did all that. All those crazy productions was Korea. Had nothing to do with,
Blizzard, right?
Yeah. So, well, actually, I don't know if that's factually correct. So someone check that anyway. But Counter-Strike, a mod as well, but it's been around forever. All these things, when you think about them, have grown from the love of them. Fortnite, as much as, I'll be honest here, I've played Fortnite. I don't mind it. It's a fun game. It is a fun game. I enjoy playing Fortnite. It's I haven't played it in a while, but when I used to play it, it was a bit of fun. I just don't think it's ever can be put on the same pedestal as a Counter-Strike, as a StarCraft. Maybe if it lasts for 20 years and they make it competitive and viewable, and we don't have 40 people left in the last circle and it's fucking moving and people are going through all these rift portals.
Hard as all to watch, right?
Yeah, like if we had games that, if it eventually shakes its way out and it's cool, that's great. That's good for everybody. It's more exposure. It's all this stuff. This is fantastic. But this nature of thinking like Counter-Strike needs a $30 million prize pool, like what TI has with Dota and all that kind of stuff, you guys don't understand what that issue has actually caused within the Dota scene. Maybe this has been several years for them trying to juggle with their format to get it back to something so teams actually attend other events other than the international, right? A lot of stuff has had to change within the Dota world. There are people who genuinely think, like Dota players, who think that the Counter-Strike format is better. That's like people who play and work in Dota think that the Counter-Strike format of majors is better. Like those kind of things you guys need to keep in mind here. Now, I don't want prize money. Oh, and here's one last thing. Counter-Strike players, as far as I'm aware and what I've been told, earn more money as a salary than what most other esports players do, especially of like counterparts if I were to compare to Dota. So these are all factors you guys have to consider. Anyway, someone steer this conversation because I lost my fucking track.
Just one thing. I have one question, right? How does a bigger prize pool help us? In what way?
It just gives us more mainstream media exposure, which personally I don't give a fuck about.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why does that make things more exciting?
There's one thing why I also tweeted in a reply to someone on Twitter. The only reason why I'm I also agree with most of what Sponge said. It's like, it's a game, it's okay. It's an esport because it's a competitive game, but does it have the scene, does it have a circuit as a competitive title as a football does or something? I don't think that is there yet. Maybe it can be, whatever. But I think the game just is too random to be very exciting as a competitive title. So the issue is, with all of this money, all of these kids obviously loving Fortnite because it's a very accessible game. The only the negative part is that people will be playing, kids will be playing Fortnite instead of playing CS. So we won't have these young prodigies coming into CS. They'll be playing Fortnite because some of these guys, just watching them, you can see that they're mechanically they're skilled. They could obviously bring that into CS, and then the whole other thing about the mentality and the understanding of the game. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But some of these players will never play CS. They just won't. So that's the reason why I think it's not important, but it is a thing that it impacts CS as a game, right? Not having these huge prize pools.
Yeah.
Striker, you got anything here from your perspective?
Not particularly. Just that the idea of crowdfunding for prize pools doesn't really help the scene in any way. Basically, like, sure, it helps the players and maybe like brings some level of excitement, like more excitement to some people, knowing that this grand final is for $20 million or whatever. I can understand how that brings a certain level of excitement to some people. Doesn't particularly work for me, but I can understand how it does for other people. But in general, it helps the scene in no way. It's just like putting the players, all the money, the big money, into the pockets of players, which obviously like they've earned earned a lot of money. They've earned to have that amount of money, or a big amount of money anyway, because they're sacrificing a lot. They're putting a lot of time into this game and just like sacrificing personal lives for it. This is not like a typical 9-to-5 job. Like they obviously have to travel shitloads. So obviously they have to be paid very well. Like that's beyond the point, especially considering how long their careers will probably be. Very few people will make it over like a decade or anything. So with that, it also kind of makes sense that they should earn a lot. But beyond that, like obviously, like if you earn whatever, like a $5 million off one tournament per player, like that's all the money you need for the rest of your life and more, basically.
Yeah.
Like unless you're crazy and you're just gonna smash out on stupid shit, like that you're gonna live off that money for the rest of your life off one tournament. So how does that? Okay, that's a little bit too much in my eyes, and obviously, like from that point on, they can just end their careers, and that's not good for the game. Well, so for the wealth to be a little bit better distributed, it makes a lot more sense, and it just doesn't really help the scene in any tangible way. It doesn't help the product unless there's more money in the back end as well.
You're right. It doesn't help the product, and I think that tweet from ESPN the other day that compared this kid's winnings to like Djokovic's and fucking Tiger Woods and all that kind of shit. That right there is such like an unfair comparison. Like we have, when I say we, I mean our generation of entertainment lovers who love video games being streamed on the internet, on any platform, on any medium of any game. We're going to end up one day in retirement homes and we're all going to be playing video games. That's just the way it's going to be. Like our parents and stuff, they're not there yet. But this is our generation. That's the reality of us when we get old. We will just have retirement homes that are LAN centers and we just sit there and we play video games all day. But the generation of people who are looking from the top now down are like ages of my parents, or they're like the 50, 60-year-olds of the world. They aren't from the gaming culture. Traditional sports have been around for a long time, so they're used to that, right? So the amount of money and things that you'd spend on those sports is going to be much higher. Esports stuff just looks super inflated, right? And that's the scary thing. Now, I think that we went into a shoe store and we bought some shoes, and we bought our shoes that were way too big. And we've been wearing those way too big shoes for a while. And now we've finally grown into our shoes. I think the salaries that people were earning was like well and truly way above where it just got super inflated super quickly, right? You have to think about that explosion of money. It went from when I started playing professionally back in 2008 in Source, in the CGS. I got paid $2,500 a month. When I started playing CSGO professionally for Renegades, I got paid $2,500 a month. All right? Let me give you, that's a long window of time. Within the span of when I started getting paid in CSGO, and probably 6 months to a year after that, that's when people are already getting paid $12,000, $14,000 a month. That's how quickly that grew. Just understand that. That is such a fucking crazy jump from those two things. And the prize money argument, the players, right, can play in tournaments for $250,000, what, like 20 times a year? There's so many tournaments where the prize money is that or more a year. It's fucking absurd. Things that like hurt us and don't allow us to have that is there's no system, there's no structure, right? If we had less events, well then we could have more prize money. But we have an event almost every weekend. So our prize money is spread out over more events as opposed to just one-off event. How many Fortnite events are you guys seeing? Well, that's what I thought.
Actually, one a year.
Exactly.
And it's like the whole event lasted 5 hours, like 6 games. It's like it's more or less when you get to there, obviously there's a skill factor, but the game as it is, it's kind of a lottery. That's literally, it's kind of bullshit, obviously. Like if you wanted that in CS, have like equivalent of that would be like a 128 team tournament, best of one all the way, single elimination, random map, and that's it.
Yeah, and we'll give the winner $40 million.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
So I think the thing is, we haven't scaled very well in Counter-Strike. We've been like on a very, very slow increase, and then we fucking exploded, and now we're plateauing, right? If you're like ESL have given away $2 million from the Intel Grand Slam in the last 8 months or 9 months, I forget what month you're in.
Something like that.
That's a lot of money to give out in a short period of time. That's a lot of money, guys. Like I had this discussion with Pimp recently, actually, and I think that prize monies, holy shit. I think that prize money will be more, but I think where we're at right now, what's the need? If people are like, oh, we can crowdfund, we could do this, we could do that, that's cool, I get it, you want to give back to players. Why don't, instead of crowdfunding, why don't we do something for, like we already have stickers. That's the one way that you can fund the teams, right? That's what Valve's thing is. Hey, you support this team, you can physically support them. You can support every single player in that entire tournament if you want. Buy their fucking sticker. That's what you could do. Not off the market. When the stickers roll around, you can crowdfund money for the players. You want to crowdfund more money for Liquid? Is that what you guys want to do? You want to give some more money to Liquid right now? Or you want to give some more money to Astralis that 95% of you people in the community, or at least the vocal community, are hating on now for some unknown reason? Is that what you guys want to do? Because you're just going to change the disparity of wealth, right? If you want to support people for giving out their lives, you can buy the stickers. No one's stopping you from doing that. I think that this will scale. Prize money will scale. But is it stagnant? Like, really think about that. Really think about Intel Grand Slam, what that's offered up, how prize... Aren't StarLadder doing like $500,000 tournaments? Like, isn't that what Shanghai was? No one even talked about the prize money. Even the best teams didn't even go. Like, what are we talking about here? It's got, like, if StarLadder are putting on a tournament with some of the most prize money that we see, WSG rolls around every year. How many teams who have 5 members from their core fucking nation don't sign up for that shit? So you guys have to really, out there who are having this discussion about prize money, use your fucking noggin. Turn your brain on. Think about things objectively. Don't just, jump up and down because the major isn't crowdfunded. Valve, by doing the major, have given us this entire ecosystem, right? They have given us this. They didn't have to do this. They don't have to give any money, but they have. And I think that we'll continue to grow, but we'll grow when we're ready. And right now, things are fine. Players get paid a lot of money. Players get a holiday that's longer than what most... Do you know, in my country, you get 4 weeks off a year. The players are having a 4-week player break right now. They get a 2-week break over Christmas. That's 6 weeks. They already get more break time than what anybody working a job in Australia of a 9-to-5 full-time job gets. Right? We get sick days. We get this.
I mean,
we get that.
they're also gone from home for a lot more than
Sure.
a normal paying job, obviously.
Yeah, that obviously they don't get their weekends, all that kind of stuff. I think you can bring all those things, but not every single team is attending every single event, right?
Sure.
I think the only teams who really make a huge sacrifice to their personal lives are the ones on the circuit consistently, or the ones like Renegades, MIBR, who have literally moved out of their own country, and live somewhere else. I don't think people. I was talking to Gomez about this, and I was like, "How is it in the US?" He's like, "Well, we don't really live anywhere because we're on the circuit." And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like you don't. You go home for 2 days and you go to the next place. So I don't think that there's. Look, I would, if prize money went up, then fuck, my rates better go up too, because that's all I'm saying. So yeah, fuck it, prize money, let's put it up, and I'll charge more. That's what we need, and everyone can make more money. But realistically, for the ecosystem of Counter-Strike, I think we're in a good place. I think we're going to continue to move forward when we need to, and I don't see the need to have the Dota International type style. And I know a lot of people think you do, but what that does is that devalues the rest of your events and the entirety of the calendar. So
I'm just gonna put one number out there, right? Just over the 200,000 events in 2018, the organizers gave out $11 million plus the Grand Slam. I actually forgot about the Grand Slam, so just make it 12. So basically, they give out $1 million every month. Do you actually think? And that's basically for like the top team.
How'd you get that number?
I just added it up from our events.
Like 250,000?
200,000 plus.
Okay.
From all those, we gave out 11 million plus Grand Slam, which is just derivative from that, obviously. So $12 million in 2018, considering Astralis won the Grand Slam. So that's $1 million every month, and that basically is just for the top 10, 15 teams, whatever that consistently go to these events that offer up 200,000.
Like 10 DreamHack opens, add like
I said,
a bunch of other smaller $150,000 like the Malta event and stuff like that.
I added up like the rest of the international ones too, and that adds up to another four something million, almost 5 million, I think it was when I added it up. So that's $17 million for like maybe the top 50 teams, teams that play internationally, basically. So maybe like a 50, 60 teams. Obviously, it's more, but just consistently, it's probably about 50. So that's quite a lot.
Well, that destroys the whole argument that CS is shit and Fortnite has so much more money. But Fortnite is giving out like 100 million in a year, but like 50 million of that is for like streamer competitions and stuff like that. So
can I just explain to everybody at home why this is scary? Because when we talk about Fortnite, we talk about the developer Epic Games fronting the prize money. When we talk about Counter-Strike as a whole, we talk about a bunch of different independent tournament organizers with sales departments who are out there doing the absolute best they can to sell a product with the word terrorist in it, to all these different endemic, non-endemic sponsors to make enough money to run quality events, to fly 6 or 7 individuals of 16 different teams in some cases across the world and house them in a minimum of 4-star hotels, feed them 3 meals a day, and make sure that their every single need is completely looked after, right? That is what a TO is doing. That is what they're doing, right?
For 7 days, not 1 day like the Fortnite World Cup, and also having practice rooms and also having all of the shit that people need to play like Fortnite on their PCs before a match.
So
they can play it on their phones.
We have someone in the chat who is adamant that Valve should just, add a compendium. I feel that you don't completely grasp the concept here of what will happen. What happened in Dota for a long period of time, and they've only just gotten back with this DPC thing so you can earn points to go to the international, all that shit, is that the only event that anybody cared about was the international because it had the most money, which devalued every other event. What does that do? That scorns all the other tournament organizers who keep the ecosystem alive. Right? So you use your little brain here, think a little bit further. If Valve raised the prize money of the majors, let's say that they made it something absurd. Let's say that they just came out tomorrow and they made it $10 million. Okay, every single other event has now just been completely and utterly devalued. And if they are to do that and raise the prize money of majors, they're going to raise everybody else's expectations. Let me give you, that isn't bullshit. That's another opinion, bro. That's the thing. You can have an opinion, but I have a good feeling that I know more about the industry than you. I just have a little inkling of a feeling that I know a little bit more about the way that the industry of Counter-Strike and the back end and tournament organizers work than you. If Valve do that, then Valve should run their own event, right? Valve should run their own event because you're going to raise the bar of these fucking TOs to something that they can't get to. Epicenter came in with their money laundering money and they raised the bar originally by giving all the players practice rooms in the hotel.
Allegedly.
Right?
For legal reasons, allegedly.
Allegedly, of course. I just use that as a joke. But they came in and they did that. And you know what that did? That put so much pressure financially on all the TOs because now what do you need? Now you need an extra room for every single team. Okay, 16 times 1. Doesn't seem like a lot. Do you guys know how much it costs in a 4-star hotel to rent out a hotel room for 7 days and then fully refurbish it and make sure that the internet is good enough for them to be able to practice for? Like, I don't know if you guys have any concept of money. Like, this shit just doesn't grow on trees. This shit just doesn't come out of their ass. This is money that they physically have to fund. You know what I mean? And Striker's getting trolled by someone in his room. But
there's a mosquito or something.
But this kind of money, right, has to come from somewhere, and we need to gradually grow that. If Valve come in and they go, okay, well, we're going to make the major $2 million, that probably doesn't have the same impact. But list me right now 5 tournament organizers, right, who you think could have enough money to even stay on par or close to that, because I can't even name 2, right? I can't even give you 2. I can give you 1 TO who could probably muster it and probably has enough backbone and enough connections in the industry and has been here long enough that they can do it. But I can't give you any more than that. So unfortunately, unless we want Valve to run everything, which they're never going to do, that's their handoff method with Counter-Strike, that's how they do this, we need to grow slowly. We can't just go, wasn't it only, when was the first major that was $1 million?
2000.
Was that E-League?
E-League. Yeah.
So
Is that
the
the first
Atlanta
E-League?
major.
I think
So,
No,
2017
Columbus.
first
Columbus
one.
2016.
Oh, Columbus already?
2016. Yeah,
Okay,
the first
sorry
NA,
about
the
that.
first NA major.
okay, so it's
Oh
been
yeah,
some
right.
time,
Right.
right? So now the question
Yeah.
becomes, well, if we raise the prize money more now, are we on the view for a new game? Is there a new Counter-Strike in the works? This is like a whole bunch of questions like that, right? Why would anybody list MLG? Why would Valve allow the company who has video games that are literally being made or made to be FPS rivals? Why would Valve allow the rival company, now owned by Activision, to run any of their events? In what world do you people who say those things actually think that MLG will ever be given a Valve major? Let me just explain that to
I
you.
think they just don't understand that they're owned by that company.
Yeah.
Amazon don't even sell Google fucking, what are they called? Chromecasts, because it's owned by one of their fucking rivals. They don't even sell them. This is business, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Unfortunately, right? It's a rough place to live. E-League, I had my whole spiel on E-League last time, guys. E-League is the same
Yeah.
thing. E-League doesn't run tournaments because they don't make money. Why do you think they're going to front money? You think E-League want to put up money just to not get any money in return? They don't get any money from Counter-Strike. They hemorrhage money. It's just this thing here, right? Is that if we rock and roll, we can probably use a little bit more prize money, right? I'm not going to argue that. Everyone likes more money, but I think we just need to do it gradually. We just need to go gradually, guys. Let's just go gradually, baby steps.
I'm just gonna add one more thing to it, and that's just my opinion, which is that I do think that the majors should be bigger than anything else, prize money wise, because that has obviously not been the case. There's been multiple tournaments that have either overcome it, which is WSG. Of course, that's competition wise, that's and viewership wise, this doesn't even come close. But still, the prize money is bigger, and then Pro League stuff like Pro League or ECS and stuff like that is obviously coming close to the majors. So having the majors bump up a little bit, maybe like to 2 million, nothing crazy, just to make it obvious that that's the biggest thing that we have in CS would not hurt at all. Like if we made it to like up to 3 million, let's say, which is just not a massive amount, it would be 6 million over the course of the year. I said we had 12 million in the other tournaments, all the other tournaments, so that's just half of what everybody else makes up. I feel like that's pretty reasonable.
I think that the only thing I want to add on the whole thing is in my opinion, CS could make more money from the CS players, CS community overall. As it is now, the only thing is like skins. You have stickers. What else? That's the whole thing, right? There's nothing else that makes money for CS at the moment, and obviously the Prime thing, whatever, that's €5, nothing much. So getting some more venues of making money into CS, make it like one of the things that just crossed my mind is imagine if you could watch a tournament, if you could buy like a premium pass to a tournament to, let's say, ESL1 Cologne, so you can watch the GoTV in the game. So you have like the major like feeling in the game, you have the GoTV, you can click around, you can watch everything. You pay like €5 for a tournament. And like the tournament organizer makes money off of that. Like some stuff like that, I think is something that we can look to Valve and say, okay, we need to leverage the viewership that we have and the people that play the game to just make the scene a bit better. That's the thing, the reasonable way we can direct the whole Fortnite has 30 million. Why am I not mega rich?
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's a difficult one to balance, and at the end of the day, I hope that we grow into something where no one is even really talking about the money, because the money is a gimmick. The only reason that that ESPN tweeted out a thing is because of the money. It's not because of the game.
Yep.
It's because of the money. And I would love it eventually if Counter-Strike continues to grow and we get to a point. I don't want us to end up in the news because we have a lot of money. I want us to end up in the news because Counter-Strike is a game watched by millions of people around the world, and we want to see who the best team is. And I don't know. I've had this discussion multiple times before on this podcast, and I still don't remember, even though I've had Lucas pull it up multiple times. I don't know how much money you win if you win the Premier League. Nor do I care. I just know if you win the Premier League, you're the best team in the Premier League. That's all I care about, right? And for those who wonder why I'm talking about football, But that's what you want to get to. You want to get to a level of prestige with your sport, and then with that, the game itself is self sufficient. Like I don't know how much you win for winning the Rugby World Cup. I don't know any of those things. We want it to be built around just being the best, and that's the difference between competition and earning shitloads of money. And just one more thing. Obviously, I'm being trolled by this person. I spoke to people who work on Dota about their system, and they said that some of them previously, it's a while ago now, it's like a year and a half ago, said that they would prefer to have the Counter Strike system as opposed to their system, which at the time it's chopped and changed a lot, but they didn't like the way it was working. It meant that it was hard for teams to feed in, or other teams didn't care because if you got straight back into international, that's all that mattered, right? Imagine this, guys. Imagine if we had a TI for Counter Strike and Liquid and Astralis. Liquid, Astralis, Navi, and Vitality only ever played in the TI every year. I don't know if that was the case with Dota, but I'm saying that could be the possibility. So, anyway.